All right, so now we're going to talk about user experience requirements and how they're solved by the Salesforce Service Console. And so we've looked at the Service Console previously, and I'm in Lightning Experience. And there's also a console in Salesforce Classic as well for service. And some of these user experience requirements that are solved by the Lightning console would be to be able to get to information quickly with less clicks. And so the console is designed so that you can go from case to case, for example, and to keep things open and reachable with just via one click. And so you notice we've got these three different cases in this list view, and this is a custom list view. And I'll show you how to add these in Salesforce and how to add them to the console in later lecture. But then for whatever current case that you're on, you've got the case details, you have contact details, you have the case feed as well. And you also have some chatter functionality. And this actually goes on to the right quite a bit more. And so I may need to adjust the resolution of my monitor in order to show all this in all of its width. And so I will pause the recording and do that here in a moment. But the main thing to keep in mind, at least as far as this particular lecture is concerned, and for the exam and the specific bullet point that this addresses in the exam guide, is that the bullet point says that we need to be able to describe the user experience requirements that can be solved by the Salesforce Service Console. And so what you need to understand is there will be questions, scenario-based questions on the exam that have to do with support reps, for example, complaining about getting lost with where they're working and having to click through and open up all these different windows, or they lose their place because they're going from a case to a contact to an account. And so all of that user experience issues can be solved by implementing the console. And as you can see here, you can get to these different cases very easily and keep them open through these tabs. And you can get the case and contact details as well. And then another nice thing, a few other nice things about the console is you can hover over a lot of these different things and get further information, such as the history here is a thing that I actually clicked on, but you can get to your history field here, and this kind of layers on top of the console. And so there's even some layering options going on in the Lightning console that can happen. And then as well, some of these compact layouts. Let me close this and see if I can give you an example. And then as well, you can do other actions from within the console. You can view more contact details, you can view the case details, and get to other related records. And so I just clicked on my name, and this brings up my own user detail page in a tab. And this is a sub-tab of case 1024, and you see how this is highlighted and colored, and then here's the sub-tab for that, and you can close these out. I'm going to pause here for a second on the recording, and I'm going to adjust my display on my monitor and show you what else is lurking here on the right. Okay, so now here is the Lightning Service Console with all the width displayed. It's going to be harder for you to read this particular text here because I've had to change the resolution on my monitor. But this gives you the idea of just the number of columns and the sheer amount of information that's available if you have a full width monitor displayed. And so we've got just an additional column here for related, and these are some of the related lists for the case, and that would be the attachments, related list, activity history, and open activities. And so with just a click of the mouse, you can move from case to case, and all these different panels update as well. It's very nice functionality. You can click the down arrow here and force refresh a tab. You can also close tabs or pin a tab as well, and that will lock that into place so that it's just pinned right there. And so I'm going to unpin that tab. Click the X to close it, for example. You can change the list views that you display here on the left to just show all your open cases or recently viewed cases. These are pretty much going to be the same because I've been working in the same cases here. I'm going to look at all closed cases, and you can see a lot of the closed cases, and you could open those by clicking on them. And so this is the Lightning Experience Service Console, and so the user requirements that are solved by this are just having to do with a better user experience and less clicks and not losing your place. And I did mention as well that we would also look at the Service Console in Salesforce Classic. And so if we switch to Salesforce Classic, and I know the resolution is going to be out of whack a little bit here, and so we can go to a sample console here, but let me click on the application and see if there's any other consoles available. There's not right now. And so I'm going to click back to sample console. So here's the console in Salesforce Classic. It's the same sort of concept in that you can get to these different objects by clicking the down arrow here. It's a little different, and then based on what object you're on, the list views update. And so then once you select a case from the list view, for example, it shows the details. And we can adjust this as well to keep the list view on the left. We can show or hide the feed filters. We can add an interaction log on the bottom. We can add custom components and then also custom related lists. All of these things we're going to be getting into in subsequent lectures. So the main thing to keep in mind is that we can solve user experience requirements through implementing the Service Console either in Lightning or in Classic. And so next, we're going to be looking at adding some custom list views to the Service Console.